When we think about hair loss, our minds usually jump to that gradual genetic thinning. But what if the cause was actually coming from inside your own body? In this explainer, we're diving into hair loss that's triggered by the immune system and some of the really cutting-edge science that's starting to fight back. So, to really get a handle on these new treatments, we first have to understand the problem itself. Because, well, not all hair loss is created equal. We're going to move beyond the usual suspects and look at a very, very different kind of trigger. So that begs the big question, right? If it's not the typical hormonal or genetic stuff, what's actually going on? Well, the answer is inside us. It's all about our immune system. And this chart breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you've got your standard, kind of predictable hair loss, but on the other, you have autoimmune hair loss. And this is a totally different ballgame, driven by an internal misfire. It means the treatment has to focus on something completely different, managing that inflammation. This brings us right to the heart of it all, the autoimmune connection. And really, understanding this mechanism is the absolute key to making sense of the treatments we're about to get into. A classic example of this is something called alopecia areata. To put it simply, this is when your body's own defense system just gets confused. Instead of going after viruses or bacteria, it accidentally tags your own hair follicles as the enemy and launches an attack. It basically happens in 3 steps. First, you get that immune system misfire. That triggers a wave of inflammation that zeroes in on the hair follicles. And the result? The whole hair growth cycle just gets thrown into chaos and basically shuts down. So if the problem is a really specific, targeted attack, how do you fight back? Well, one of the most direct ways is with targeted therapies. This is all about delivering the solution right to the source of the trouble. For something like alopecia areata, the strategy often involves these advanced direct injection techniques. So instead of a systemic approach, something that affects the whole body, this is about precision, getting help exactly where it's needed, right on the scalp. So what are we talking about injecting? 2 of the most advanced options are exosomes and stem cells. Think of exosomes as these tiny little messengers that can tell cells to calm down and reduce inflammation. And stem cells, well, they're like the body's ultimate repair crew. With both, the goal is to get them right into the scalp to counteract that immune attack and create a much healthier place for hair to actually grow. But injections aren't the only tool in the box here. There's another really fascinating approach that tackles the inflammation head-on, using a very specific kind of molecule called a peptide. And that peptide is called thymosin alpha-1. It's being looked at as a real potential game changer for these autoimmune-related hair loss cases. So the question is, how does it actually work? The source material describes it perfectly. It's an immunomodulatory and anti-inflammatory agent. Now, when you're talking about an autoimmune condition, those 2 words are just incredibly powerful. So what does immunomodulatory really mean here? Well, it's not about shutting down your immune system completely. It's about modulating it, basically telling it to just calm down a bit. This dials back the inflammation that's attacking the follicle, which helps create a much more stable, healthy environment where hair can hopefully get a chance to grow again. All right, so we've looked at the problem, we've looked at some pretty advanced solutions. What's the main idea we should walk away with? Let's bring it all together. At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. For these specific kinds of hair loss, the best treatment might have less to do with what you put on your hair and everything to do with what's happening inside your body. The focus totally shifts from the symptom, the hair loss, to the root cause, which is that autoimmune response. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. As we learn more and more about this incredible connection between our immune system and our hair, are we heading into a new era? An era where treating certain types of hair loss is really all about rebalancing our own internal biology? It's a pretty compelling thought.